It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast for 2023, available every morning on iHeartRadio and Spotify, also on Apple and wherever you get your good podcast from. And it is a Sunday morning, the 29th of January. The month is nearly up. It's a pity tomorrow is Monday, so we better make the most of our Sunday today, whatever you're doing around the country. And coming up this morning, we are going back to the Time Tunnel Summer Series, back to August of last year, and talking to a couple of people. First, we're going to look at Sydney getting some of those eye-watering property prices. And at the time, we spoke to Georgia Cleary from McGrath in Paddington. And in particular, we looked at this one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment in the harbourside suburb of Double Bay, and it sold for nearly $500,000 above its reserve price. And we also talked to Mo Zatuni from Ray White in Dandenong. We introduced people to a suburb 30k southeast of Melbourne CBD. It's called Endeavour Hills. And Mo is a bit of a character. He had always wanted to do a podcast, but never had the opportunity. So we change all of that for him coming up next. If you're celebrating your birthday for today, for Jan 29, happy birthday on this Sunday morning. You are sharing it with Adam Lambert, who is turning 40. Heather Graham, she's turning 52. And the man who really does know how to pull off a moustache, Tom Selleck, is turning 77 today.
Informing you 7 days a week on the Real Estate Breakfast. It's the main centre forecast.
And first in Sydney we go, expecting some showers for your Sunday, a high of 30 degrees today. Melbourne, cloudy skies, 24. Brisbane expecting also some cloudy skies with sunshine in 31. And in Perth today, expect some cloudy bits, but mainly blue skies with sunshine, and your high 34 degrees.
We feature market updates, interviews and trends. It's your real estate podcast for breakfast.
One of the locations is Sydney that is still getting some eye-watering prices. For example, the other day, a one-bedder, one-bathroom apartment in the harbourside suburb of Double Bay has sold for nearly $500,000 above its reserve price. And the property was sold by selling agent Georgia Cleary from McGrath, Paddington.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, we know that Georgia Double Bay is a highly sought-after location, but there will be many asking questions about the price paid for this apartment. Tell us a little bit about the location and about the apartment itself.
Yes, certainly. So the apartment itself is located right in the heart of Double Bay, which meant that it had really great access to shops, all conveniences, schools, parks, the waterfront. It was also in a well-regarded development that had been completed only a couple of years ago, and the finishes were pretty special, very attractive. So a combination of things, but generally when we get an apartment that's well located, the market will respond well to it. So obviously the people that we were able to attract saw all of its advantages.
You've done a really nice sell job there, Georgia. Sounds like a lovely property. So tell us what the purchase price was. What did you manage to achieve here?
We managed to sell it for $2,005,000. The reserve was 1.58, so an extraordinary outcome for an apartment of that size.
Wow. And is that some sort of a record?
Oh, of course. Yes.
So that's a new record for what? For Double Bay?
For Double Bay, for a one-bedroom apartment in that area, and certainly for a square meterage as well.
So how many square metres?
There was 75 internally and another 45 externally, and then, of course, the car space at 13.
That's amazing. And I said that you had 8 registered bidders with 6 actively bidding. I mean, it's a great result even before you go into the auction. I mean, you'd already sort of won the day on the fact that so many people turned up. So tell us a little bit about the bidders that were attending this auction. Can you break that a little bit down for us in terms of the type of bidder?
Yes, certainly. So, I mean, it was a really good mix. And I think that's the exciting thing about Double Bay and selling property in that area is that you generally find the buyers cover a wide range of ages and stages in their lives. There were more people interested in the property downsizing than not, but it was an interesting mix of investors, young couple, a lady on her own that was in her 30s, and then, as I said, a couple of downsizers, because the level access into the shops and the parking and security underneath was very attractive for those sorts of buyers.
Internationally, we are just seeing so many more people coming back to Australia. And that brings me on to another point. How are you finding the current market for today? Like, it's a Saturday morning, it's the 20th of August, another 30 days, and that spring change is upon us.
Yes, well, already having the blue sky and the sunshine out has turned people's thinking and enthusiasm to get out and look at real estate. So you just feel it in the air that it's picking up already, and it won't need to be the 1st of September for that to happen if we can just keep this good weather flowing.
And how many fence sitters are you going to be going back to next month to say, hey, here we are, we're into September, what about that listing?
Well, all of them. In fact, I've already gone back to them and trying to encourage them to beat the rush of traditionally spring, where there will be a lot more on the market, and obviously their properties will then have more competition. So yes, those calls absolutely continue.
And has anything stood out to you for this particular winter, which might be a little bit different to other winters, apart from, of course, the rate rises and the pandemic itself?
Well, I think certainly, as I mentioned, the number of people that have taken trips and gone away, and for quite long periods of time. You know, I've spoken to many people who, you know, might have ordinarily gone to Europe for 2 weeks and instead have done 5. And I suspect because of the pandemic, the last couple of years, and not travelling or not spending money on various aspects of their lives, they've been able to have a bigger budget to do that.
It's a weekend of real estate.
So let's say good morning to Mo Zatouni from Ray White Dandenong, and very good morning to you, Mo. Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to say a massive thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this podcast. It's actually always something I've wanted to do, was, you know, be on a podcast, and I listen to many other agents. I listen to many generic podcasts as well. And I've always thought, oh gosh, I would love the opportunity just to talk and just voice my opinion a little bit. And funny enough, it's actually on my 2022 personal goals is to be on a podcast. And it's funny how things just, you know, intertwine with each other, and it actually happens.
Mo, this is it. It's arrived. It is your moment to shine.
Yes. Perfect.
Tell us a little bit about your journey, because just on Saturday, we stripped it all back talking about somebody that was new to the industry, and that was Ben in Perth. And I think you've been going about 3 years in the real estate industry.
Yes, correct. So I've been born and raised in Debbie Hills for the last 24 years of my life, and I absolutely love the area. I attended primary school there, secondary school there as well. So I'm a big part of the community there as well. But when I was going into the industry of real estate, you know, people I was talking to, they either said, you know, you can work in a field, you know, an area where you're from and, you know the area quite well and be familiar, you know, with all its characteristics. Or, you know, you can bite the bullet and work in another area that you're not very familiar with. And I did want to obviously be situated where, you know, I had a strong connection already with my community and new people in my community.
And tell me a little bit about, because you come from the hospitality sector, and I find that quite interesting because you've got to be able to adapt, I guess, with the public in that sort of a sector. It's not an easy sector to work in. And of course, real estate, you have to do that. You have to be talking to people constantly. How did you find the skill factor from hospitality into real estate?
The most probably exciting opportunity I had working within the hospitality sector was the international business side. So I actually lived in China for 3 months while we opened up 3 stores there. And I was only 19 at the time, and I actually had my 20th birthday in a city called Chongqing. It was absolutely crazy. Like, none of my friends or family had ever done this before. And then I was celebrating my 20th birthday with people that didn't even know how to speak English. And it was an amazing experience. Like, imagine being in a country like you can't even speak to one another. Like, I had a translating app with me 24/7. I was literally teaching our business to people that didn't know how to speak English, you know, teaching our brand. brand.
China is a very interesting place. I've been to China and I was fortunate enough to go there as part of a delegation. You weren't part of a delegation, so that makes it more difficult just to be able to communicate. Now, just coming back to the whole hospitality, I mean, very transferable in terms of what you learnt in hospitality with the ability to talk to vendors, people that are buying property.
Of course, you're learning so much, personal skills, you're learning customer service skills, how to transact with different people. And that saying, the customer's always right. Also working as a team, I feel like any sort of hospitality industry, it teaches you a lot to work as a team, as a collective. And even where I'm based now in our office at Ray White, I work in a team structure and I absolutely love it because, there's no I in team.
Endeavour, we better talk about Endeavour Hills because this has started to go off. Is it of any surprise to you that it caught this bit of a boom in the market?
Not at all. It's just been an amazing experience the last 3 years of my life transacting property in this core suburb because I've just seen it grow and prosper like at an absolutely enormous level. So when I started selling property here in 2019, the average medium house price in the market was approximately $530,000, and now to date it's risen to $831,000 approximately. It's absolutely insane in the matter of 3 years' time.
Tell us a little bit about your thoughts about the market. Obviously, it's changing. You've been in the real estate game for about 3 years. No doubt you will know some people also that might be looking at another career in terms of a real estate agent as things start to bite.
Yeah, of course. Look, go back, 6 to 8 months ago, properties were literally selling themselves. We would put a property on the market. Our phones would be buzzing off, we'd be getting 10 to 15 email inquiries per day of, people wanting to come see the home. And that's what COVID did. But now it's getting a little bit more trickier because, obviously buyers that are coming through are less and the inquiries that we're getting have dropped down dramatically. But if a home is marketed right, you're going to have no issue selling it. But what we're seeing as well, even with my team at my office, is we're having to do a lot more buyer work than we ever had. And that's a result of homes, selling themselves, 8 to 12 months ago.
All right, so we'll leave it there. I've got to ask, you were wanting to do the podcast. How did we go? How do we rate?
Oh, I absolutely loved it, man. As I said, it was always something I'd wanted to do and, can't thank you enough for the opportunity.
Thanks, Mo. Enjoy your day and get out there and sell some more of those houses.
Done. Sell.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.